Welcome to Bruce Hurwitz Presents Meet the Experts. I'm your host, Bruce Hurwitz of Hurwitz Strategic Staffing. I hope you will consider us for all your staffing, career counseling, and speech writing needs. You can find us on the web at hsstaffing.com. I'm delighted to be joined today by Mary Jenkins. Our topic is cancer financial toxicity. Meet the Experts is sponsored by P&K CPAs. P&K is a full-service accounting firm. They provide accounting and consulting services to businesses ranging from startups to small and mid-cap companies to nonprofits, as well as high net worth individuals. Contact them today for a free consultation at pk-cpas.com or call them at 973-882-8810. They will be happy to be of service. Mary, welcome to the show. And
Hi, Bruce.
Before we get started, I just want to preempt a possible apology to our viewers for some technical problems, which hopefully we have overcome. You are a veteran, so I want to thank you for your service.
Thank you.
And I want to ask you now just to take a minute or so and introduce yourself to our viewers.
Okay. Well, Bruce, thank you for having me here on today. My name is Mary Jenkins, as you shared, and I am the founder of a cancer organization called the COC, originally called Christians Overcoming Cancer, but we recently rebranded. The organization provides emotional support and financial assistance to active treatment cancer patients. I started the organization because I am a two-time breast cancer survivor and I lived the experience, and therefore I talk about it from a position of strength versus assuming what happens. I know what happens.
Well, thank you for that. I don't know if it's the right word, but congratulations on overcoming cancer ×2. What's this about? The title is kind of strange. Cancer financial toxicity.
Yes,
what are you referring to?
Most people don't understand what financial toxicity is when it comes to cancer until you live it. And that is the financial struggle that a person battling cancer deals with. Whether it's the adult that is struggling or it's the parents of a child that is. And so what happens is this, and this is from my personal experience. In 2006, I was diagnosed with stage 3, almost stage 4 breast cancer. While going through treatment, so I was doing chemotherapy, I started to get really sick and it was hard for me to continue working. So my employer let me go because my employer wanted me to focus on recovery, which is important. And so I stopped working. Well,
hang on a second. When you said he let you go, does that mean he fired you, or he said, take as much time as you want? And was it with pay or without pay?
It was not with pay. It was a take as much time as you need, Mary, and we'll be here when you come back. But there was no compensation. So I got let go. And so in doing that, I started really putting my attention to volunteering with the Susan G. Komen Foundation because it was breast cancer and I had breast cancer. And as time passed, I had an epiphany. It was going to be the end of the month and I wasn't working and I still had rent to pay and electric and gas. I had the bills to pay. I reached out to the Komen Foundation since I was volunteering with them and asked for financial assistance. And that is when I learned that the money that they raised was used to fund research, treatment, and awareness. It was not used in the manner in which I needed, which was help to pay the bills. That alone sent me into almost a shock. They told me to reach out to the American Cancer Society. I found out that the American Cancer Society did not provide the support that I needed. And so I went on a journey to find help and was unable to find what I needed. And I applied for welfare. I mean, I did all the things that I could to get help to pay the bills because I knew that if I didn't pay the bills, I was going to either be evicted my utilities disconnected, my car repossessed, my insurance canceled, those things. Couldn't find what I needed. Fortunately, the church that I belonged to at the time, uh, I was allowed to go into the sanctuary, and I had a heated conversation with God because I couldn't understand it. And my pastor overheard me. They came out from behind, they were in the back offices, and asked me what was going on. And I explained the situation. And the church offered to pay my bills for me the rest of the time that I was going through treatment, which was a blessing for me. But my immediate thought was, what about the other breast cancer patients that are battling cancer that need help? Who's helping them? Someone needs to make people aware of where the money goes and where money does not go, because this is a toxic situation. And my pastor was like, yeah, you're right, Mary. Someone needs to do something, Mary. And then it dawned on me that he was saying me. And he said, just tell your story. People will understand because your story is your story. And so for the last 15 years, I've been sharing it. So financial toxicity is the toxic situation that a person gets in while they're battling cancer, because they're taking time off from work, whether it's going to the regular doctor's appointment, whether it's having chemo, then being sick from chemo, or they're having surgery, then they're recovering from surgery, or they're having radiation and they're going to radiation every day. There's so much that goes on. And that's when it's an adult. What if it's a child that's battling cancer? Now, mom or dad, if there is a mom or dad in the home, or mom and dad in the home, one of them gets to decide who's going to go to work and who's going to be at the hospital with the child. And then if there's siblings, one of them gets to decide who's going to be at the hospital with the child and who's going to be taking care of the rest of the kids. But then who's going to go to work? And there's still these bills that have to get paid. And so, and it's an extreme financial burden that all of the well-known cancer organizations agree exists. They all agree that there needs to be something done, but they're just not willing to allocate any of the money that they raise to fund that. And so that's what we've been doing.
What is the difference between somebody? Is the issue that you're facing disease related? In other words, anyone with a life-threatening disease who has to go through a treatment that will, by definition, diminish their capacity to earn a living, chemotherapy, would be going through the same thing that you went through.
Correct. So financial toxicity in itself is across the board. Okay. Because a person can have, say they have someone like me, I ended up with diabetic ketoacidosis and was in the hospital for a week. I couldn't go to work that week and the bills still had to get paid. And so a person can, it's across the board, whatever the disease is, if it causes a person not to be able to go to work, to where they cannot earn wages and they do not have something in place, they are set up for being in a state of financial toxicity.
Now, what type of, I understand the services you provide. I'm not going to ask about your donors. I'm not going to ask how much this costs. What I'm going to ask, though, is about, since it's not really cancer, unique for cancer, it's across the board for any type of, let's call it life-threatening disease, for lack of a better term. What type of coordination have you had with other disease-oriented organizations? I'm thinking Alzheimer's, Parkinson's.
We've had conversations because they understand what we do and have asked about how can they implement something similar. Because it's really not hard to implement. It's just it's just having a heart, like really having a heart for the people. And it's one thing, like I said, to fund research. Research is important. Without it, I wouldn't be here. But the reality of it is, research is being done so that people in the future don't have to experience the challenges of a particular disease. But the people that are actually dealing with the disease currently are the ones that need the help. And so we've had conversations with um, other organizations that deal with different diseases, because one thing is for sure, that we understand that there are people that have this financial burden. It's just whether or not the organization is willing to allocate some of the money that they currently use for a different reason and put it towards helping the people.
I'm thinking of my past as a fundraiser, nonprofit professional. And I would think that community organizations would be, this would be a good fundraiser for them. It may sound cruel and rude and kind of brutal, but as I lived in Israel for 13 years, and one of my professors said to me, this is a terrible thing to say, but there's no better fundraiser than a terrorist attack. So there's no better fundraiser than being able to get up and say, we have enabled Mary Jenkins to remain in her home, support her children, get the care she needs, and to get better. It would be a great fundraiser. Are community organizations in any way involved?
No.
Why
And
not?
because most of the time, community organizations don't have a specific disease. We are cancer only, active treatment only. And so if someone gets referred to us that is battling Alzheimer's, we wouldn't provide a support service to them in-house, because we don't do that. That's not our area.
No,
So
that's fine. I'm not
right, so
talking about
so
that.
but there are community organizations that we can send the person to, and that's what they do. We just specialize specifically for cancer patients.
Fine, but you're not offering cancer treatment.
No.
You're offering aid to someone, financial assistance to someone, I don't want to say suffering, so that there won't be any confusion, but dealing with the ramifications of the disease.
Mhm.
So who cares what the disease is? It's the ramifications. Your focus is on the ramifications. Your case, it happens to be cancer.
Yeah.
In Joe's case, it's Alzheimer's. In Mary's case, it's Parkinson's.
Right.
And I'm sure there's third, fourth, fifth, and sixth disease.
Right.
So if somebody had come to me when I was the assistant director of the Jewish Federation in Clifton, New Jersey, and said to me, Bruce, there's someone in the community with cancer, Alzheimer's, I don't care what, it doesn't matter. They're not going to be able to pay their bills. Their family's going to be thrown out of their house. The children are going to be on the street. What can you do? I'd make phone calls.
Mhm.
I was working for seems that all the nonprofits I worked for are no longer in business. So maybe I'm not a good person to with whom we should have this conversation. But
Well, I do want to share with you this. So when I first started the organization, we were providing services to breast cancer patients only, because that's what I knew. And so when a person was battling breast cancer and they needed help paying their bills, they could apply, and we would raise the money to pay the bill. When we were 4 months old, we got a referral of a woman who had cervical cancer. And I told her we could not help her because she had the wrong type of cancer, which was crazy. And I was like, that doesn't even sound right. And
yeah,
she explained to me that it was okay because everyone did things to help breast cancer patients. And I was like, it's not okay. And I'm a breast cancer survivor, and I now have a problem with it. And so I'm going to fix it. So I had a conversation with my board and explained that I never wanted to say that to anyone ever again in life.
Your
So
mission was specifically breast
yes,
cancer. Okay,
yes.
so
So we
All right.
changed our mission to include all
All
cancers.
cases. Okay.
My board asked me, was I sure that I understood what I was saying? And I said, yes. In my mind, I meant in Columbus, Ohio, but we didn't say that. And so
Mm,
when they started coming from Cincinnati and Cleveland and Toledo, I couldn't say you had to be from Columbus, Ohio. So we figure out how to help you.
mm.
And then when they started coming from Georgia and Texas and California, New York, it's like, I can't say you have to be from Ohio. So we'll figure out how to help you. And then when they started coming from Canada and Mexico and Johannesburg, South Africa, and England and Turkey and Australia,
Uh-huh.
it's like, we just get to figure it out.
Yeah.
And we've mastered it because we have provided services to people in all 50 states. We have contacts with organizations in 24 countries. And St. Jude refers to us.
I was going to
Make-A-Wish
ask you
Foundation
about St.
refers to us.
Jude.
Yeah. So St. Jude is a great
And what
hospital.
about Ronald McDonald?
Ronald McDonald, well, it's the
Well,
hospital.
hang on a second. I mean, if yesterday Dr. Seuss was deemed to be
I,
uh,
I saw that.
a racist, maybe I shouldn't say Ronald McDonald, but personally, I couldn't care less. My
Right.
favorite
And
book of all times was Green Eggs and
green eggs
Ham,
and
and
ham.
it will still be Green Eggs and Ham. So I don't care.
Exactly.
But I mean, you have
Exactly.
St.
So
Jude's.
St. Jude reached
Um,
out to us back in 2014 because they realized that they were providing no cost treatment to the children, which is amazing. That's a blessing. Thank you. When the families would travel from out of town, they would stay in the Ronald McDonald House at no cost, which is also a blessing. But here's what they realized. They realized that if the families did not have help paying their bills at home, when treatment was over with, they went home and oftentimes found they were being evicted, or they found that the utilities were off, or the car was gone because it had been repossessed. And so they were trying to find an organization that they could partner with to send people to when the people needed help. And they found us. And so when we had the conversation, it was like, absolutely, we would love to be able to help your families because that's what we do. We raise money to help people battling cancer pay their bills while they go through treatment. Will you help us raise money, St. Jude?
Now,
And
I
they said no
said no.
because, and I
Interesting.
understood, but I understood
Okay, yeah,
why.
yeah. I'm not. This
You
is
know,
not meant as a criticism.
no, and
Uh,
it's not. It's just
St.
it's just
Jude's is
business.
stellar. The Shriners
Yes,
are stellar. They've got their mission the way you had your mission, but
exactly.
St. Jude cannot change their mission.
Correct.
I mean, it just, Danny
No,
Thomas, may rest in peace, set it up and raised God only knows how many, probably hundreds of millions of dollars. And that's it. But you reminded me of something else that I did. And this is one thing that I was rather proud of. I started with a colleague, when I was working for a senior services nonprofit, a elder abuse program.
mm,
And the idea was, what made us unique was that we renovated part of our building into a dormitory. So we could take the abused senior out of their home where they were being abused and put them in a place that was safe, where there would be somebody there 24/7, where there would be people coming in for various activities during regular business hours, so they wouldn't be alone. We were literally across the street from a police precinct and a stone's throw from two hospitals. So everything was fine. Everything was safe. It was a great plan, except for one little thing that none of us thought of. Better the devil you know, these seniors refused to leave their homes. They were more afraid to come to our facility, which we showed them. All right. And it was a nice facility by everyone's account. But it was always, no, 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 I don't know what's going to happen. and 1,001 different excuses. They wouldn't leave their homes. So I called our biggest funder, which happened to be Philip Morris, which today is probably a bad thing to say, but again, I don't care. And I explained the situation to them. And I said, instead of promoting this as a housing alternative, a shelter, the only thing we can offer now is counseling. Can we change the use of the grant from providing housing, meaning they were paying for cleaning and food and I don't remember what else. It was a long time ago. And my contact said, I'll call you back. He called me back a little while later. Bruce, no problem. Make the change. So there are foundations out there that understand that your initial goal may look great on paper, but there may be something you didn't think of and nobody told you because it had never happened before and just didn't dawn on anybody. And the money is out there. So I'll ask again, aren't there, I mean, I went to your website to try to figure out what in the world COC stood for. And you have hidden it. All right. It's not there. And I don't
Well,
care if it's,
originally, I will tell you.
yeah,
So originally it was Christians Overcoming Cancer.
you said that.
Yes. And so
Yeah.
what was happening is people were calling. So like the American Cancer Society would refer someone to the organization and they would call. And if they left a voicemail, it would sound like, hi, my name is Manda, and I was referred by the American Cancer Society for financial assistance because I'm in treatment for cancer and I want to know how I can apply. Oh, and I'm also a Christian. Thank you. God bless you. We were like, people think you have to be a Christian to get our services.
That's what I was going to ask you because
Right. That was a
I
problem.
had a client, they're still around, in the South. It was a Christian organization, and they brought me down, and they were the nicest people. And as we're waiting for a van to take us from the hotel to their facility for a board meeting, because I was staying at the hotel along with some board members, I asked the question, will anybody object to the fact that you've brought me down to find I think it was director of development? And one elderly board member totally misunderstood me. Everybody else knew what I was saying. She missed it. And when she started to speak, we all knew that she was about to dig herself into a hole, but that was okay. I would get her out of it. And she said, Bruce, there is absolutely no problem. Uh, while we are a Christian organization, we help everyone. And we have helped many members of the Hebrew faith. And she went on, and the other board members are dying. I mean, they are embarrassed. They feel terrible. And it didn't bother me. She was a nice lady, and she was responding as you would expect from somebody who had seen 70.
Mhm.
So I said to her, no, I wasn't referring to the fact that I'm Jewish. I was referring to the fact that I'm a Yankee. And then she smiled and said, now that could be a problem. But you deal with everyone,
Yes,
not just Christians. So why
correct.
don't you reach out to Jewish federations and whatever the Muslim equivalent is, and because
What
you've
we
got
do
the
is
system.
partner. So
Exactly.
we partner externally. And what I mean by that is, so when a person fills out their application and we see what their need is, we're going to see what we can find, what support we can find for them. So if it means that we can reach out to the Jewish Foundation or the Catholic Social Services or the different places, we're going to try and get them that support. But if we cannot find it, we will be in position to cover it.
And that's
And
a
so,
beautiful thing
yeah,
to do.
yeah. Because the reality of it is we can't do everything. We know we can't. And it doesn't make sense for us to recreate the wheel, but it does make sense for us to direct people not just give people a pamphlet of phone numbers that they can call and try to get help because they're already sick. Let's do the work for them, and then put them in touch, make sure they get the support. And then if we can't find it, then we answer the need.
What is the process for those who are watching and need assistance? What should they do?
Go to our website, which is
You know what? I'm going to
okay.
put up the contact information
Okay.
that you shared. So please continue.
Okay. So when they go to the website, which is www.thecoccares.org, when they see the website, the first thing that they will see is accept the Five Alive Challenge, because that's our fundraiser right now. And then underneath, they'll see two tabs that say, one says to receive support and the other says to give support. They will click on the receive support because they are wanting to get support from the organization. They will follow the prompts, then they'll apply online. So they'll get an application. They will complete it, including their name, address, social security number, phone number, all the demographic stuff. We do ask what a person's religion is, not because they have to be a Christian, but because we want to say we help everybody, because we do.
That's fine.
And just like we ask, race, gender, all that. Then they also give us permission to reach out to their doctor, because so they'll provide us what is their official diagnosis, the date of diagnosis, the doctor's name, or the treating physician, and phone number, and permission to call. And the reason is because we do not determine if a person is in active treatment. We're not qualified to. We don't know enough about cancer. None of us are specialists. So we reach out to their doctor, and their doctor will let us know, yes, the person is in active treatment, or no. And if they're not in active treatment, then they're in maintenance or follow-up, which we know that we can't directly service them, but we can at least guide them. But if a person is in active treatment, then they finish, and that's our verification. They'll complete the application. And on the application, it has whether it's their rent or mortgage, it's, how much are they asking for? Who is the bill made out to? So if the person is financed by Wells Fargo Bank, they'll give us the bank name, the account number, and the phone number, and the address, because we do not give people money. We pay the bills. And that is intentional, because
Yes.
I remember when I was going through, if somebody had given me a check for $1,200 and said, Mary, pay your rent, your electric bill, your gas bill, and your water bill, I promise I would have deposited that check in my checking account, and I would have ordered pizza for my kids so we could have a sense of normalcy. I probably would have got some groceries, filled the tank up with gas, and then figured out what I would need to say to explain how come the bills weren't getting paid in full. And I know that would have been at least I believe that would have been my actions back then. And so rather than put people in that compromising position, we verify the request, make sure that it's the result of being in treatment, and then we pay the bill.
So you have answered my question without my asking it on how do you vet, what your due diligence is, and I assume you've never been conned.
There's only been one time. It was one time, and I can tell you it was because the mother, the child was in treatment. It was a 12-year-old little boy named Landon, and he was in treatment, and his mother, she swore up and down, then my son's in treatment, and I was on my way to take my son to treatment, and my car broke down, and I've got to pick my son up. And so against what I knew, I was like, okay, what mechanic shop is near the hospital? And she provided the information. So we called and made the arrangement for the vehicle to get picked up. It got picked up, repaired, and returned. And then we found out that the boy was not in active treatment, but the boy was actually in follow-up.
There you go. Mary, I want to thank you. Before I let you go, I always give this opportunity to my guests. Is there anything that I didn't ask that you wish I had asked?
Yes, one thing, and that is how we are funded.
Okay, how are you funded?
How are we funded? We are funded based off donations. We have a lot of people And I do anything that's legal, moral, and ethical to ask people to make a donation. We are not grant funded. We have not, I mean, for whatever reason, well, several reasons, we've chosen to gather an army of people that make donations, believing that if everyone gives a little, it can end up being a lot. And so last year, because of pandemic, the events that we normally would have to fundraise all canceled. And so we created the Five Alive Challenge, where it's easy as 1, 2, 3. We donate $5, invite 2 people to do the same thing, and then share. And with that, we believe that our goal is to have 10,000 people committed to giving a donation of $5 every month. And in doing so, that will fund our mission. And so that would be the thing. If everyone listening could make a donation of 5 or more, if they feel led to give more, great. They feel if they can only give less, that's fine too, because we're thankful for whatever dollar that we receive. But if they could make a donation in support of the cause, that would be a wonderful thing.
Well, Mary, I thank you profusely for coming on. You're doing great work. And this has been a privilege. So I thank you.
And I thank you.
I'm Bruce Hurwitz. Thank you for watching. And as always, please stay focused on success.